Okay, I'm going to walk you through how to create overdue notices in our reports. So in Destiny, we're going to go into reports. In the reports tab, we're going to make sure that we are on library reports. And then we're going to come down under circulation and click on current checkouts and fines. And it kind of gives you a little description that this is to identify or send notices to the patrons that have those checkouts or fines. So we'll go ahead and click on that link. And then we're going to kind of create our own right now. So you can go ahead and select anything that you would like to select. Typically, when we're sending out overdue notices, it's for any books that are currently overdue. So I just leave that checked and just leave checked all that are overdue. We don't really assign anything to our custodians, but I just go ahead and uncheck that anyways. Also, we might uncheck the resource fines. So that way we don't have to worry about any textbooks or things like that that we may have. So this will just be any patron fines from our school or their elementary schools, and also just any fines that we have already generated for our library books. You have two options. Sometimes I leave it on report and it will display, it will come out as a PDF. If you are intending to send these homeless students, we can actually just select notices and then we can kind of customize what the note home says. So I'll go ahead and select notices for this tutorial, but that one or the PDF report, either one is fine. Notices will just let us customize a little bit more. All right, then we'll click continue. Okay, on this screen, we're going to go ahead and make sure that our results are displaying for what we want it to display for. We want to make sure that just active students are checked. We don't need to print off notices for kids that have moved away. So just active status. Being at the 6th grade center, all of our kids are graduating in the same year, so we don't have to worry about sending it to one grade level. It's just all of our patrons. For patron types, I do update that. If you're not including staff, I would just go ahead and uncheck everybody except for the student patron type. Usually at the end of the year in May, we might go ahead and get with staff members at that time, but they get to keep their books all year. So for right now, we'll just leave it set for students only and then hit OK. Again, I like to uncheck resources so we don't have to worry about textbooks or anything like that, band books, music books, things like that. For circulation types, I will update that. Since we have already made all those other settings, we really don't have to worry about any of this at all. But I'm going to go ahead and just to make double sure, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck all of this except for regular. All of these would be printing off with staff, the staff development, professional resources, DVDs, all of those things would be checked out to staff. So since we unchecked staff, we don't really have to worry about it, but I just like to make sure everything is ready to go. So we will leave this checked for regular. So I just uncheck all the other options except for regular, so it will just be our library books only. Okay. I like to include the materials that my patrons have or fines that they owe to other buildings. So this would be through ILLs or even our 6th graders as they were in elementary school, anything that they still owe from elementary school. Maybe at a certain point in the year we can just uncheck that. If they haven't paid their elementary schools at a certain point in the year, they're probably not going to, so we don't need to keep reprinting that over and over, and it's probably best practice to just get with that librarian at their old schools and have them just wipe the fines if they are not continuously not getting paid. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked so we can try to get as many books back or the money for the books back as possible, even for other buildings. All right, so we'll go ahead and hit continue. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and select by homeroom. and I will just have it sorted alphabetically, so from A all the way down to Z. I'm going to leave internally checked. That means that we are distributing these notices ourselves to these homerooms. So I'm just going to leave internally checked. Display name, that is only a thing if we are emailing them. So we're just going to do internally, and then you can leave all the rest there, all the email stuff there. That's for the email if we were emailing the notices. Print layout, we can go ahead and print one notice per page. So this will be per student. Each student will get their own notice is what that's saying. So here's where we can customize what the note is saying. Dear, and then it will give the patron's name. And it already has in there, the following items are overdue. Please return them as soon as possible. We could even type in a little extra, like if your materials are lost, please pay your amount due to the Eastgate Library. Please bring your amount due to the Eastgate Library. We might even give some contact information for families. Such as email or phone number. I'll just leave it at email for right now. And that way they can actually get in contact with somebody if needed. For the purpose of this video, though, I'm just going to take all of that out. I just want to keep it very general because I'm not really assessing fines at this point. Once we actually mark the books lost to student accounts, then it will go in officially as a fine. At this point, I'm not really fining them. I'm basically giving them one last ditch effort to get the books returned before it becomes a fine. So right now I'm just giving them a reminder, you have this out, get it returned. So that's my purpose for this particular occasion. All right, so we can also I like to display the title, the cover image of the book, and I also like to include the price so that they kind of have an idea. Again, this is not collecting fines out of our system. This is collecting information on students that have books that are overdue. So there has been no fines assessed at this point, unless I've manually went in and assessed them. So therefore, we do want to make sure the price is checked so that they kind of see the price of the book. And this is another step where you really want to make sure that you're going in and actually going through student by student and marking the books as $10 before you do the overdue notices. Otherwise, it will show up as $23 or whatever the price is. And then that kind of becomes an awkward situation when they go to try to pay, and then we're explaining to them why it's $10 and not the price that it's shown. And it's just good to have all of that set up front so that there isn't any confusion. All right. I will go ahead and check homeroom too, just to be safe. Should already print and be sorted by homeroom, but I like to make sure that's definitely displayed for sure. And then we can go ahead and run notices. Okay, and I've already ran this, so I'm just going to go ahead and click view on the one that I have already ran, and this is what it will look like. So at this point, we can go ahead and print these off. This is 134 pages, so this is a lot, but this is what it will look like. It tells you the name of the student, lets them know that they have overdue books out, and there's the price associated with it. There is no fine because I have not actually marked the books lost yet. Some of these that have books from other sites, like these ones, those librarians in the past had already marked them as lost on the student's account, and therefore it does assess the fine for that student. So now that student has 5 books out that are all $10 each, so that student owes $50 to Topping. Okay, so some of these notices are also kind of a judgment call when it's like that. There's a lot due to an elementary school. It might be best practice to just go ahead and email the Topping librarian and say, hey, this kiddo has $50, especially depending on who the kiddo is. Topping, I know there's going to be a lot of hardship cases there anyways, so I might just go ahead and email that librarian and say, hey, can you go ahead and delete these fines? I'm going to go ahead and say that it's safe to say we're not going to get that money back. I've already sent overdue notices twice, so the student is well aware that they have those out. So let's just go ahead and wipe those from the student's account at this point. So that way it's not dinging us every time the student's checking out with books from elementary school. All right, so that's kind of the gist of it as far as our overdue notices. These are sorted by homeroom already alphabetically. We did that A to Z alphabetical, so these will already be sorted and ready to go for us. We just want to make sure that potentially if there are multiple pages for a kiddo like this one, that we're either throwing away the last page or stapling them together, like in the case of the kid that had 5 books out and it carried on to 2 different pages. So that way we make sure that all of their papers are staying together, especially if we're having homeroom teachers distribute to the kiddos, so that way we can ensure we're getting all of them covered. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.